Yo, 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 what's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads out there? This is Weedman420 with the Weedman420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Fantastic.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Hey, everyone out in the world. Hope you're doing great. Hope you're doing awesome. Hope you're doing amazing. Hope you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening. And smoke big fat doinks every day. Mrs. Weedman?
Yeah.
I'm going to smoke and not forget this time.
Yeah.
You're going to tell them why you're not smoking right now and why you ate edibles.
What do you mean you're going to smoke and not forget? Not forget what?
The last episode,
You
couple
forgot to
episodes, we
smoke.
forgot to smoke. We were going
Yeah,
into
yeah,
the
yeah,
articles
yeah,
already
yeah.
and we forgot
I'm
to
like,
smoke.
what are you
So
talking
I'm
about?
not going to forget to smoke. I'm smoking Majin Fajita, and it's also in a wrap that was given to me by Spliff Society, the Real Spliff Society. So thank you for the wrap, and I'm going to smoke while Mrs. Weedman's going to tell you why she only ate edibles tonight.
I am not going to smoke, but I am really high, and I have a ear-to-ear smile right now for no reason. Did I say smell or smile?
I think you said smile.
Smile. I have a big smile right now. I ate some edibles that I forgot that I ate because I made some homemade edibles yesterday.
Granola.
Like
Unbelievable.
a trail mix. And I popped my hand in the jar and ate a couple pieces and kind of forgot about it. And then I ate a quarter of an edible, getting prepared for the show. And then I'm like, how did that kick in so fast? I was like, oh, shoot, I ate the other edibles. So wish me luck this evening. I am not smoking because, ladies and gentlemen, I had a throat stretching procedure. I had my throat procedurally stretched, and I know there might be some people here that have their wheels spinning about what that might mean and if it could benefit them.
It's definitely not because of Mr. Weedman, that's for sure.
It's not for him or because of him. I had to have I'm having some swallow issues. See, now this just goes all sorts of bad when you start talking about throat. So I'm going to veer back out of that subject. It was just a surgical, a medical procedure because I had some swallowing issues. So my throat is stretched and sore. I'm not smoking. I'm letting it heal. And maybe I'll have a chug contest. I'll be like the chug queen at the end of the summer. I could just open throat and down some. I'll be the. This is going so bad.
So good.
Forget it. Forget it. Forget
She's
it
not
all.
smoking
I'm
for
not
a minute,
smoking.
everyone.
Let's start the show, Mr. Weedman.
Let's
start the show.
Man, that Majin
Gosh.
Fajita's tasting good.
What did I
You
eat?
made that granola, and
Dang.
I ate way too much last night, and I was high till about noon today.
Whoops.
But I ate 4 or 5 handfuls full, and I knew I shouldn't have, but it tasted so good. All right, everybody. All last week leading up into this week, there was so many articles and so many people were DMing me and so many people were shooting me text messages and emails I gotten about COVID and cannabis and the effectiveness against it. I think some people thought it was actually the cure for it. Some people were. I'm super excited that it's effective against it and what they're finding. So I have 3 articles here, and I've read probably about 25, and I'm gonna read these 3 because a lot of them were the same. So, but these 3 I think all correlate. And I think they were kind of good. So, cannabis effective against COVID-19 variants, says scientists in groundbreaking study. And this was published in the Journal of Nature Products. This discovery may be key in the future to fight against new variants. Scientists are claiming that cannabis can offer protection against COVID-19 in a surprising new development. During a laboratory study that was later published in the Journal of Nature Products, cannabis compounds prevented the virus that caused COVID from penetrating a healthy human cells. Now, we had talked about cannabis and COVID a couple months in, probably 3 or 4 months into COVID in 2020, and there was some promising stuff back then. And I don't remember what episode that was. I'm sorry I don't, because I'm baked. But they found research back then. Now this is even more promising. So the researchers tested the compound's effect against alpha and beta variants of the virus in a laboratory and was found to be very successful. The study didn't involve giving the supplements to people or comparing infection rates in those who use the compounds to those who don't. So smoking cannabis to combat COVID is not what the scientists unearthed. People are familiar with the compound THC, the cannabinoid that gets people high, and also CBD, the extracted cannabinoid used in oils to help ease anxiety. Neither of the compounds this study refers to. Instead, the two compounds commonly found in hemp called cannabigerolic acid, CBGA, which you've heard me explain and talk about in prior episodes, and cannabinoic acid, which is CBDA, and the A stands for acid, where the forms of cannabis compounds identified during a chemical screening efforts as having potential to combat coronavirus. Researchers from Oregon State University explained that in the study, CBGA and CBDA bound to spike proteins found on the virus and blocked a step the pathogen uses to infect people. Hooray for cannabis! Hooray for cannabis! Hooray for weed!
Wee.
These cannabinoid acids are abundant in hemp and many hemp extracts, said author Richard Van Bremen of OSU's Global Hemp Innovation Center. They are not controlled substances like THC, the psychoactive ingredient in cannabis, and have a good safety profile in humans. And our research showed the hemp compounds were equally effective against variants of SARS-CoV-2. Hooray! The study, published in the Journal of Nature Products, and many other people published it too, so not just this one, tested several plant extracts such as red clover, wild yam, hops, and licorice to find a potential connection with COVID spike protein. Dr. Van Bremen added, our data shows CBDA and CBGA are effective against the two variants we looked at, and we hope that trend will extend to our existing and future variants. The two extracted chemicals were found to be not only effective against COVID, but also against subsequent variants of the virus, alpha and beta, which may suggest that the study may prove life-changing in the future fight against developing mutated strains. So that is so promising. And the next one, what I thought was great, the Sisters of the Valley, the Weed Nuns who we've talked about, Mrs. Weedman talked about them, praise study stating pot can prevent COVID-19. Group of, we've talked about the Weed Nuns, cheered that hemp and cannabis may help prevent COVID-19 infection. We are naturally pleased that science is catching up with ancient wisdom, Sister Kate of the Sisters of the Valley told the Sun. An Oregon State University we talked about released last week. They're super excited. It's a wonderful progress to have a scientific community say we're already determined that we are compounds in hemp that can prevent infection. So now we can just get on studying the dosage, said the nun, whose legal name is Christine Musin, said, and that's progress. Dr. Richard Brenham of OSU's Global Hemp Innovation Center said that the two compounds can help prevent and treat COVID-19. So the sisters are fired up. Musin's Northern California-based feminist collective, the Sisters of the Valley, which is unsurprisingly now affiliated with the Catholic Church, grows its own pot, which is used to create holistic health products. It's started with just 12 plants and grew over to $1 million in annual revenue before the pandemic. So they created something spiritual that is non-religious, but it's spiritual and very eco-feminist in nature, and we're going to help fight what we're seeing. So good stuff by the sisters. And then here's another one. Cannabis cures COVID with a question mark. The elusive holy grail the cannabis industry needs for federal legalization. And this is done by the Fresh Toast. I'm baked, everybody.
I can tell you are.
Woo! Majin Fajita, baby. I got to take a sip of some water. Baked. Like really, but I ate a little bit of that granola too, like 45 minutes before we started too. So it's like
I think that granola
like,
is stronger than we think
I can't
it is.
feel my body right now between the Majin Fajita and like
you're floating.
Oh gosh,
I want to go to a float tank.
As long as it's
I really want to float.
As long as it's not freezing cold water.
No, I think it's like body temperature. That's it. So you like literally, it's salted water, but then it's like your temperature. So when you're in it, you feel like you're literally nowhere. You're just like, and then you're in a dark capsule. You gotta try it. Like floating in the ocean is pretty freaking cool.
I would do it.
But you still have that like sensory issue of like the shark might bite my head off in a second. So you're like 90% relaxed and 10% I might die, right? But these float tanks, you're not gonna die unless someone just forgets to come and let you out of it because you're like locked in. So I guess there could still be like a 5%. Maybe it's like a 5% I might die. Go ahead.
You might drown.
No, suffocate if they don't open your pod that you're in. What if you get locked in the pod?
Become Aquaman and breathe underwater. It'd be fine. So The news broke last week that cannabis can help with fighting COVID-19, and almost the entire non-cannabis world picked up the headline from the Oregon State University's study on cannabis and cellular pathways used by COVID virus to invade the body. Fortunately, almost everyone in the cannabis industry kept a level head and said that no, cannabis does not stop or cure the COVID virus, but it does have potential to help in a few ways. One, it can reduce the spread of the virus by binding the receptors the virus uses to spread throughout the body. Two, it can reduce the symptoms associated with the virus, since cannabis has natural anti-inflammatory properties. Cannabis, until the point, cannot cure COVID or keep you from getting the virus. Good point to that. As the article, The Cannabis Grinch, pointed out, hopes are fading for the fast federal cannabis legalization in 2022, unless a long shot bet like cannabis having a major impact on COVID transmission or remission occurs. The article also points out that the news has to come from Big Four pharma company, one that has tremendous pull right now in the White House and CDC. The reason this is the case goes back to the history of cannabis can inhibit pathways that COVID viruses use to spread, so it closes doorways the virus uses to gain strength, stated Dr. Klovecka in Canada's almost 2 years ago. You can watch the full interview on Dr. Klovitz, so it's probably on YouTube, and listen as he explains his findings before peer-to-peer review. Fast forward to Dr. Richard Van Bremen's study from Oregon State that builds on Dr. Kovik's thesis, and you could see how the cannabis and COVID headlines could start to spin off the rails. We did talk about that article a while ago. So one problem is that for the cannabis industry to see a real push at the federal level to legalize cannabis for COVID research and deployment, the study has to come from a company lab like Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson. With those labs, they're making millions per day of vaccines. Want to rush cannabis COVID alternative to the plate? Question mark. No way. As some medical professionals have also pointed out, while Dr. Van Bremen's work is a start, there's a long way to go from a petri dish and mass spectrometer predictions. While the cannabis industry perked up at the news of the possible holy grail of fast cannabis legalization, the facts as summarized in Dr. Adams in the Boston Globe goes as follows. Researchers at the Oregon State University's hemp lab used some nifty computer modeling and mass spectrometry techniques to make predictions about how well a variety of organic compounds would bind with a protein spike. Or of the
so
coronavirus.
high.
I'm fucking baked. Which allows to infect human cells. They then sent their list of top candidates to Oregon Health and Science University, which has a special containment facility authorized to work with live samples of dangerous pathogens such as the coronavirus. The test at the Occupational Safety and Health Act showed the two hemp-derived cannabinoid compounds bound strongly with the spike, blocking the ability of the virus cells to infect human cells. However, the effect hasn't yet been studied in human subjects, just petri dishes. Also, the compounds in question occur at very low levels in most strains of cannabis and hemp, and can only be ingested via extracts made with solvents, not through smoking or cooked edibles. Assuming clinical trials go well, the researchers eventually hope is that a pill containing purified versions of the cannabis compounds could be developed as a supplement to vaccinations for use after a known exposure or by those who are immunocompromised. Whenever there's a positive clinical study around cannabis and COVID, cannabis stocks jump, and the world got excited about medical potential of cannabis as a medicine. Then the details start to emerge, and they are never the same. They're never as game-changing as the clickbait headlines. While cannabis has a potential to heal and help the human body in a myriad of ways, the medical testing has been kept in the dark for the past 58 years thanks to the federal government's Schedule I classification of the plant. Research have been prohibited in almost all cases by the feds. Medical studies over the past 7-8 years of state legalizations are just starting to catch up to modern medical standards, but in a way, we are starting research like it is in 1958 all over again. Does Big Pharma want cannabis legalized right now? Based on studies showing patients dropping over half of their prescription drugs once they start on the cannabis therapy program, the common sense answer would be no. Why would Big Pharma want to see legalization of a plant that would theoretically cut into their profits by 50%? That goes the same for big alcohol, tobacco at this point in time. Billions of dollars in lobbying money against legalizing cannabis paving the road to full federal cannabis legalization is a pipe dream right now. While the voters want legalization by an overwhelming margin, major businesses tied to lobbying and election funding do not want it right now. federal cannabis legalization will happen when Mitch McConnell says it will happen, as he holds the key to the votes to influence the Senate to pass the bill or kill the cannabis legalization. As of now, the senator from Kentucky has shown no interest in helping Democratic cause and legalization cannabis at a federal level. Without strong support from Republicans, federal legalization is dead in the water, with the SAFE Banking Act now looking at a long shot in 2022 as well. Those facts push the cannabis industry into a Hail Mary or Holy Grail mode. While no obvious paths exist right now to federal legalization, especially with midterm elections coming up later this year, the industry must have an outlier or a long shot through the game-changing cannabis move. Cannabis curing or preventing COVID is certainly one headline. If it turned out to be true, that could do just that. Outside of a major medical finding of the cancer or COVID level, 2022 does not look like the year for federal cannabis legalization. And that was written in the French Toast, and it was Terry Hacienda. So those are the 3 articles. I've read them all. I've read a lot. It's positive. But these articles we're reading, just stay positive and pray that it goes where they get some more science on now human testing. I'm baked. You're going to do the next 2 articles because I need to.
Poor Mr. Weedman. He's having a rough time over there.
Yeah, I read it pretty good.
You got it.
I got it out.
You got it out.
It's fading fast, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone over the world. Woo.
Aren't there tricks to like diminish your high a little bit, calm it down?
Why don't you tell me about how to get rid of the smell real quick?
All right, we're jumping subjects.
For all you people out there that have to like live in condos or apartments and they don't let you don't want you smoking weed, but you still do, and you want to try to mask the smell. I love the smell of weed. You love the smell of weed.
Yeah. But, yeah, or maybe you live in a house and it bothers other people. So there's workarounds for that, right?
Right.
I've got an article here, the best ways to eliminate the smell of weed. Do you want to eliminate the weed smell from your room, home, or apartment? Maybe you want to be acceptable to your coworkers and neighbors who find the smell of cannabis a turnoff. In cases when you have a career or personal social obligation, you may not want your clothes, personal property, or apartment to reek of the odor you ritualize over. Or you might want your cannabis habits to remain private. You can maintain respect and secrecy through a few useful tricks to mask yourself or your home of the smell of cannabis. The flavor and unique aroma of cannabis is mainly due to the terpenes and terpenoids. These terpenes play a role in determining the flavor, smell, and effect of any cannabis strain you smoke. Here are several things to do to diminish the smell. You can start by adjusting your personal hygiene. After handling or smoking weed, the smell lingers on your fingers, hair, and skin. This is a skunky scent that those around you can readily notice. After you smoke or handle weed, wash your hands and face. Cannabis oils are absorbed into your pores and will linger there for hours. Using a scented soap or body wash will help open your pores and wash out the skunky weed smell. Cannabis smoke accumulates and collects in your hair along with its odor, making it helpful to shower and wash your hair with a scented body and hair product. Are you having your boss or someone you don't care to share your personal habits with over to your apartment? Nag Champa is a natural Indian fragrance based on a mixture of magnolia and sandalwood or frangipani and sandalwood. Its strong, continual scent has been a source for eliminating bad, unwanted odors. It helps knock the smell of weed out of your indoors. The additional benefit is that you are able to avoid artificial air fresheners that are filled with chemicals. The smell of cannabis will not only be absorbed by your skin, but also your clothing. There's a very easy fix for that. Wash your clothing often. Get the smelly clothes into the wash so they don't add to the smell in your home. Keep a smoking jacket, which I guess I always just thought of a smoking jacket like Hugh Hefner just to look cool. And, you know, like he just looked awesome in his fancy little pajamas and his smoking jacket. And I never really thought that it had a purpose other than a styling or like an image, right? But think about it. If smoke could adhere to your clothing or any fabrics that are around you, if you had a smoking jacket, like it doesn't have to be fancy. If you just have like a hoodie that you keep around the house or like a blanket that you know, could like wrap around you when you go to smoke, then it's going to land, the scent will land on that fabric versus your clothing that you're wearing out of the house. Pop off your little smoking jacket and you're good to go. I think that's a great idea. Avoid smoking in rooms where you have a lot of fabrics, especially bedrooms. Cannabis smells will cling to anything fabric again. So if you're lucky enough to have a spare room or a closet, use it as your personal smoking space. You can buy a foam door insulator and keep the smell confined to that space. Add a high-quality active carbon air purifier. It'll help tremendously in eliminating the smell of cannabis. HEPA air purifiers significantly reduce smoke and cannabis odors in your home. Smoke particles are collected by the HEPA-style filtration to eliminate the odors. There you have it. Wash up, do your laundry, wear some fragrance, or use a fragrance diffuser, get a favorite smoking jacket, and make yourself a smoking space. Boom. Smoke up, bitches, and keep your stinks away. That was my little adage. Very clever, right?
Very clever.
Very clever.
You're going next again.
I am?
You
All right.
are.
I needed some water.
There you go.
All right. This is very cool. This study suggests that CBD dominant extracts are associated with behavioral improvements in children with autism. Taking place, this study in Istanbul, Turkey. The long-term use of cannabis extracts containing high percentages of CBD and low percentages of THC, so more, again, body high, not head high, not as much psychotropic action, are associated with reduced symptoms in adolescent patients with autism spectrum disorder, according to data published in the Journal of Cannabis Research. Turkish investigators reported on the use of CBD-dominant extracts in a cohort of 33 adolescent subjects diagnosed with mild to severe autism. Authors reported main improvements of the treatment were as follows. A decrease in behavioral problems was reported in 10 patients, representing 32.2%. An increase in expressive language was reported in 7 patients, or 22.5% of the kids. Improved cognition was reported in 4 patients, representing 12.9%. An increase in social interaction was reported in 3 patients, or 9.6%, and a decrease in stereotypes was reported in 1 patient at 3.2% of the study. The parents reported improvements in cognition in patients who adhered to CBD-enriched cannabis treatments for over 2 years. 6 patients reported no significant improvements in behavior. I think that's pretty cool. Compared to conventional treatments, cannabis extracts were not associated with any significant side effects, authors concluded. Using lower doses of CBD and trace THC seems to be promising in managing behavioral problems associated with autism. The study's findings are consistent with those of several other small trials similarly finding improvements in autism spectrum disorder patients' symptoms following the use of cannabinoid products. Survey data published in October by the publication Autism Parenting Magazine reported that 22% of U.S. caregivers or parents have provided CBD to an autistic child. Survey data from the United Kingdom recently reported that autistic adults were nearly 4 times as likely as controls to report using CBD within the past year. For the full text of this study, named CBD-enriched cannabis for autism spectrum disorder, an experience of a single center in Turkey, and reviews of the literature, appears in the Journal of Cannabis Research. Additional information on cannabis and autism spectrum disorders is available from normal.org. So, very promising.
Yeah, really promising.
Very cool. How you doing, Mr.
I'm high.
Weedman? Can you keep talking?
What's my name, fool?
Mr. Weedman!
I can keep on going.
Do it.
These states could possibly legalize cannabis or psychedelics in 2022. Advocates scored a significant number of cannabis reform victories in the state legislatures in 2021, but they are hopeful they can get even more accomplished in the new year. So let's just go down and see what states. Arkansas. There are 3 campaigns working to give voters a say in whether Arkansas should legalize cannabis in 2022. There's more, but I'm not going to go through it all. California, there are 2 potential routes to legalizing psychedelics possession in California, a legislative approach being spearheaded by Senator Scott Weiner and ballot campaign to place the issues of psilocybin legalization before voters in November. Colorado, voters could have the next year to vote on legalizing possession and personal cultivation of psychedelics and creating a system licenses to produce psilocybin, DMT, ibogaine, mescaline for supervised use at healing centers. Delaware, a legislative effort to legalize cannabis for adult use in Delaware, died for the 2021 session following disagreements among lawmakers over social equity funding, but the effort could be reviewed in the new year, with national advocates listing the state as a top target to enact legalization next. Hawaii bill to legalize recreational cannabis that cleared the Senate last year is still alive for 2022 session, and it's possible that the legislature will move to take it up again. Idaho activists with one campaign are moving forward with plans to put medical cannabis legalization on the state's 2022 ballot, while another set of advocates have decided to suspend a campaign to legalize possession due to the complications resulting from the coronavirus pandemic. It's a little promising because last Idaho was like, wow, you couldn't even get nothing done with cannabis there. So to get on the ballot, it's big. Kansas, a medical cannabis bill that passed the House last year is still alive and poised for action in the Senate in 2022. Let's go, Kansas. Kentucky, a Republican-led bill to legalize medical cannabis in Kentucky landed in the state legislature this month. The measures to update a lead sponsor, Representative Jason Nemes, and pass legalization efforts and includes a number of conservative-minded adjustments aimed at winning broad support among lawmakers, including leaders of his own party who control the legislative agenda. Maryland last month, a top Maryland lawmaker pre-filed a bill to put cannabis legalization on the state's 2022 ballot. Michigan, there are efforts underway in Michigan to statewide psychedelics and cannabis reform enacted this year, but both legislatively and through the ballot. Minnesota, the year 2021 saw a bill to legalize cannabis in Minnesota move through a dozen House committees and then get approval by a full chamber, but it stalled in the GOP-controlled Senate. Lawmakers are ready to take the reform fight again in 2022. Mississippi lawmakers are moving ahead with the proposal to legalize medical cannabis in the state, though they're faced with some resistance from certain provisions by Governor Tate, and it was just how many grams someone can get a day. 3.5 is what they want to put in the law. Tate Reeves, the governor, wants it 2.7 grams a day. Doesn't make sense, but power move, I guess. It's a few points.
Right.
Missouri, there are currently two separate campaigns working to get legalization initiatives on Missouri's 2022 ballot, in addition to legislative proposals to enact the reform. Nebraska, activists are fed up with GOP-controlled legislative blocking efforts to enact cannabis reform, and so they're making another push to put medical cannabis legalization on the 2022 ballot. New Hampshire's House of Representatives kicked off the 2022 session by approving a bill to legalize the possession of cultivation of cannabis by adults 21 and older. Now heads to the Senate, where cannabis reforms have had a tougher time advancing in the past. North Carolina, a proposal to legalize medical cannabis in North Carolina advances through the Senate committees last year, and advocates are optimistic that the reform could take up again in the new year. North Dakota, cannabis legalization come to North Dakota either through the active legislature or the ballot this year. Ohio activists and lawmakers are hoping to get reform enacted in 2022 and also trying to get legalization for recreational. Oklahoma, there are currently two campaigns working to put cannabis legalization on the state's 2022 ballot and will separate initiative to rework Oklahoma's existing medical cannabis program. Rhode Island, a deal on cannabis legalization bill in Rhode Island appears imminent, with key lawmakers recently saying the legislation could be introduced in the coming days, following months of negotiations between the House, Senate, and Governor's office. South Carolina, lawmakers are positioned to advance a medical cannabis legalization bill that's being championed by Senator Tom Davis, Republican. South Dakota, my goodness, South Dakota. The voters approved it. Should be legalized, both medical and recreational. And then the governor there is trying to sue the people that put the lawsuit on them to pay for all of her court fees and stuff, too.
Geez.
I know, it's crazy. Washington, D.C., lawmakers and advocates in Washington, D.C. are ready to eager to proceed with legalizing cannabis sales as soon as congressional appropriations rider is lifted. Washington State, psilocybin and trying to do stuff like that. Wyoming activists recently said that they've made a solid progress in collecting signatures for the pair of ballot initiatives to decriminalize cannabis possession and legally medical cannabis, but they didn't get enough to make the 2022 ballot deadline and will be aiming for 2024 while simultaneously pushing the legislature to advance reform sooner. Well, hopefully that's all promising stuff in your states. Oklahoma aims to beef up enforcements on illicit cannabis businesses. We talked about that. Arkansas registered $264.9 million worth of medical cannabis sales in 2021. Good for you, Arkansas. Michigan breaks another cannabis sales record for December, says state's officials. 135 million recreational cannabis purchases and about 33 million in medical cannabis sales last month. Crazy. A record year also. Let those caregivers grow. More red states are going wild for weed this year, so we'll see. Florida cannabis activists pivot to 2024 for legalization ballot. They didn't get enough.
2024.
They didn't get enough signatures and push
What
for 2022.
the heck?
I know, right? Just the tourist, 77 million people visit Florida
Come
a
on.
year, or some shit like that. And there's like 22 million people that live in
That's
Florida.
Dumb.
It's like 103 million people. Let's just say 100 million people a year that are in and out of Florida.
Oh my gosh.
If they went recreational, I mean,
Oh my gosh.
you're talking about like probably
Shit
like
ton of money for the state.
4 bill a year in sales.
What are they hung up on?
Who knows?
Stupidity. Ooh.
Arizona hits recreational cannabis sales record with new program catching up to medical. Good for you, Arizona. California governor considers cannabis tax reform to prevent industrial rebellion. There's a lot of shit going on in California, man. They're saying that and I don't know how true this is 'cause I don't live in California, and I read about the market, but they're saying that there's a lot of trouble going on in the California market right now. Taxes are too high. Dispensaries aren't making money. Cultivators aren't making money. They're not happy with the current tax laws. It is heavily taxed in California. And a lot of stores aren't going to make it, and cultivators aren't going to make it if they don't fix what's going on out there. So they're trying to do some reform and give some money to help out for right now. We'll see. Virginia lawmakers divide on releasing cannabis prisoners following legalization taking effect. Come on. Do what you're going to say you're going to do, because there's people in jail for low-level, nonviolent cannabis crimes, and you're legalizing cannabis throughout all your states. Let them go. Get out of jail. Last Prisoner Project urges New Jersey governor to free cannabis prisoners. The big fight right now going on in them. Last Prisoner Project, we talk about them all the time. They're leading a coalition of publishing an open letter to the New Jersey governor, Phil Murphy. The letter urges Governor Murphy to grant clemency to all cannabis offenders who are currently incarcerated in New Jersey state prisons. So, let's go Jersey, the place I was born. Colorado sets new record for cannabis tax and fee revenue in a single year. Oof. Crazy. I think it was something like $423 million in revenue from cannabis sales.
Wow.
That's crazy. Outlook dim for U.S. cannabis legalization in 2022, but banking reform still alive. Ugh, not good. South Dakota governor, like was saying, wants cannabis activists to pay legal bill for her lawsuit that blocked legalization. It was voted in by your constituents, by your people in that state. And you want them to pay for it? Munchies. Munchy, 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 munchies.
I've got the munchies right now, and as much as I want to continue talking to everybody, I really want to go eat a bunch of stuff. I think I want something salty and then some chocolate.
Well,
anyway, yeah.
You're the expert.
Yep, I've got an expert's
Give
guide.
them the guide.
This is not my guide. This is written by someone else, but this is an expert's guide to getting the munchies. Of the many psychoactive effects brought on by that dastardly plant known as cannabis, the munchies is one that seemingly every pot smoker has experienced. Despite the anecdotes and evidence on the causes of the munchies, pot's turbulent past and current classification as a Schedule I drug by the DEA means the scientific evidence of how weed affects humans is spotty. A recent article from Weed Maps featured an interview with a cannabis specialist named Dr. Melanie Bone, who says the heightened sense of taste and smell we get from weed comes down to the production of a hormone called ghrelin. Dr. Bone explained how ghrelin acts as an appetite stimulant with the brain, which can go into overdrive when cannabinoids, which are compounds that bind to the cannabinoid receptors in our body and brain, enter the body. Some strains of cannabis also contain a terpene called myrcene. Oddly enough, myrcene is also found in mangoes and parsley and is generally known to stimulate hunger. Molecular science aside, weed's legal status in 18 states, plus DC and Guam, makes knowing the product's molecular level easier than it's ever been. Pop a blackberry CBN mint for a calming buzz. Suck on a Bebo downtime vape before bed. And spend the morning in the throes of passion with candy practically made for morning sex. The point is, your experience with weed is what you make of it. Through generations of stories and thousands of late-night meals consisting of air-fryer dino nuggets, embracing the munchies is all just part of the experience. When I'm high as a kite and hungry like a wolf, my go-to vice is popcorn. There's nothing finer than microwave popcorn covered with a dusting of garlic powder, celery salt, and Old Bay. I have never tried that.
I read that. I was like, that sounds
good.
delicious. A little bit of that Old
Yeah.
Bay.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps the most quintessential of all cannabis consumer phenomena, the munchies, calls for snacks just as flavor-packed and indulgent as the cannabis that inspires them, says Tyson Rossi, Senior Vice President at MedMen. Here in California, some of the most iconic munchies include Flamin' Hot Cheetos and Ben & Jerry's aptly named half-baked ice cream. Particularly inspired consumers are known to combine the two, creating a sweet, spicy, and surprisingly satisfying concoction. Tyson and the team at MedMen operate on the mission of destigmatizing cannabis by education, curation, and transparency around their products in a safe and friendly shopping environment. They support Black and Brown-owned cannabis brands too. Some of my favorite high treats are the kinds of treats that can actually get you higher. Founded by chef Nicholas Pritzker, Cloud 11 Confection offers an elevated edible experience made with decadent chocolate ganache. By the way, making your own edibles is easier than ever these days, with easy-to-use appliances like Levo and the magical butter machine.
We talk about them. We have the magical butter machine.
That's great.
And you made some fantastic granola. Woo!
Hunger is a powerful urge, says Marion Nessel. Dr. Nessel is an award-winning author who earned a PhD in molecular, that's a hard word, molecular biology, as well as an MPH in public health nutrition. We have to eat to live. We are hardwired to love to eat and get a lot of pleasure from eating. Having food around is all it takes to make us want to eat. Beyond hunger, psychology kicks in. We eat out of boredom, to satisfy emotional needs, to be social, to have something to do. Dr. Nessel points to real, relatively unprocessed food in lieu of ultra-processed junk you usually get through the window of a drive-thru. Ultra-processed foods themselves induce higher caloric intake, continues Dr. Nestle. I'm going down. You came back and now I'm going down. Continues Dr. Nessel, who suggests keeping food like nuts, cheese, and boring, unsweetened cereal around when your hunger hits. Okay, when the munchies hit, the last thing you're looking for is cheese and nuts and unsweetened. I'm like a squirrel. What do you think I am, a squirrel? Sorry, Dr. Nessel. I disagree. Anyway, back on track. It's hard to say no to your deepest culinary desires, right, when the munchies kick in, right? Stimulating the part of your brain that goes ding, 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 ding. And you think of crazy things and all things bad that you want to eat. So anyway, what is your go-to snack when you have a snack attack?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. So many things. Pretzel rods sometimes with some cream cheese, or I'll have some grapes, or I'll eat some Sour Patch Kids.
Okay, he's the guy who's going to have the squirrel food.
Well, no, I'll have some Sour Patch Kids every once in a while. I'll throw a handful of dark chocolate. I don't know. It just depends on what day it is and what I'm feeling.
Always a bag of original Doritos.
Oh, yeah.
Just in case.
Dorito
just
queen.
in case. I don't always eat them. I look at them for a long time. And then I'll finally crash into that bag.
Chips and salsa is great.
Chips and salsa.
The lemon and lime chips from Tostitos with
pretzels.
Some salsa.
And the whole time you're eating the pretzels, you totally are like pasty mouth. You can't even swallow them, but you can't stop eating them. Oh my God. Ice cream. And then, sour candy.
Sour candy. You
can go to town.
Candy. Yeah.
Go to town.
Yeah. Anytime.
Oh my God. The rainbow fruit strips.
Oh, so good.
They're so hard to find. Oh, they're so good. Okay. I'm done.
So many options.
Yep.
International news. South African indigenous king arrested for growing weed at the presidency. So this is a great story. South African police have rooted a cannabis garden grown by the indigenous cohesion activist outside President Cyril Ramaphosa's office for over 3 years. Police arrest a Caucasian leader who clings to a shoulder-height cannabis plant as they drag it across the presidential lawn in Pretoria. South African police Wednesday uprooted a cannabis plant grown by indigenous activists who have camped outside President Cyril's office for more than 3 years, AFP reports and saw. The leader was wearing a traditional lion cloth clung to a shoulder-height plant as police dragged it across the presidential lawn and before arresting him. Police declared war. He shouted, "We have been here peacefully. We're coming for you," warned the man who calls himself King Cohesion, South Africa. The Cohesians were formerly known as Bushmen or Hottentots, a name coined by Dutch settlers in the 17th century, reflecting the cliques, the characteristics of their language. During the raid, another activist yelled at the police, asking them for plants. You are rubbish people in uniforms. The group's tents have been a fixture on the emerald lawns of the South African president's office since 2018, when they began a campaign for official recognition of their language. One of the tents is just yards away from the giant bronze statue of Nelson Mandela, the country's first president. Black president. Around 24 police, some of the riot gear, others mounted on horseback, and some with sniffer dogs raided the small group. Police did not respond to the AFP's request to comment, but journalists heard officers on the scene saying the raid was over the cannabis plant some 6 months ago in the activist vegetable garden. In 2018, South Africa's top court decriminalized the private and personal use of cannabis in a landmark case that pitted law enforcement agencies against advocates of the plant, known locally as DAGA. Well, hopefully they let that man free, and that means wrong. So, Italian officials certified signatures for national cannabis and psilocybin referendum. Italian officials certified on Wednesday the activists collected enough signatures to place a cannabis legalization referendum on the country's ballot this spring. Though there's still one more pro-doctoral step before the measure will officially be on its way to voters. About 3 months after the advocates turned in 630,000 signatures for the measure, which would also legalize personal cultivation of other psychoactive plants and fungi like psilocybin mushrooms. The Supreme Court of Castation informed the campaign that it had validated them. Good for you, Italy, man. Legalize, let people home grow. Great. Legislators legalize medical cannabis, pressure Carlos Alvarado to sign the bill in Costa Rica. Last week, 29 votes in favor of 10 against. Legislators approved in the second and final debate the law that allows the hemp industry and medical cannabis in Costa Rica. Prior to the vote, the promoters of the bill pressured the president of Costa Rica, Carlos Alvarado, to convert the initiative into law with his signature. What this will do for the economy, for exporting, thus saying it's going to be $5 billion industry for them. So they want to get this all done between hemp and cannabis. So good for them, Costa Rica. Someday I'd like to go there. Africa sets new record with $2 billion cannabis shipment. $2 billion cannabis shipment, signaling potential boom. Good for you. We've talked a lot about Africa and growing, and good for them, man. Make this the crop that you guys get to keep and do and grow. You got great soil, and you're growing a natural plant that was given to you by Mother Earth. Good for you. Declutter. What's that like? Everybody, like when they start their New Year's resolution, they always say like declutter their house.
Mm-hmm. Spring cleaning,
that kind of stuff. Right. To declutter, right? You want to move some shit out.
But you gotta like get your mojo to really get into like the thick of that, right?
Cannabis help?
Yep, it can. I've got 6 cannabis strains that will help you declutter your life. To maintain a certain level of sanity throughout the holiday season, although we're now beyond it, both your physical and mental clutter must be addressed. Morgan Davis, cannabis lawyer and co-owner of med spa startup Oak Health Institute, knows a thing or two about using both meditation and weed to promote wellness. A few years ago, I was struggling with anxiety. Traditional methods of treatment were not working. I sought out alternative or non-mainstream methods of treating myself, like meditation, breath work, natural supplements, and plant medicine, Davis explained. As I traveled my own path of wellness, I developed a desire to broaden the treatment options and avenues for all. Right now, that's cannabis. She also finds that cannabis can be useful for productivity and getting things done in general, not just for mental clarity. Cannabis is becoming a tool of focused creativity. More and more, I hear about business people incorporating cannabis into their scheduled time for big picture planning or content creation. Plus, pretty much any frustrating task is made better by getting stoned first. Just about every consumer I know will smoke a joint or eat an edible before doing a massive clean of their space, Davis said. There are tons of awesome strains out there that can help you focus so you can organize your physical space. However, focusing is harder when you really don't want to do the things that need to be done. For this, you need some fireweed that will help you dial into a task at hand while making the whole experience more pleasant. Here are 6 mood boosting, productivity enhancing strains to help you declutter your life. Green Crack is said to be a cross between a 1989 Super Sativa Seed Club, a skunk number 1. An Afghani landrace, Green Crack is potent, fruity sativa. The strain is a consumer favorite due to its potentially invigorating effects. It's like a cup of coffee inside a joint with a buzzy high that may motivate you to do even your most hated chores. Cereal milk. Whether you want to reorganize your closet or you've finally committed to building that piece of IKEA furniture you lost directions for, smoking cereal milk will make the whole experience less stressful. Reportedly boasting a calm and creative high, this strain is a balanced sativa indica hybrid from the Cookies fam. Spark up and start checking things off your to-do list. We've got Super Silver Haze. Famous for its potentially energizing qualities, Super Silver Haze is a sativa-dominant hybrid from Amsterdam's Greenhouse Seed Company. Bust out your duster because this strain's long-lasting and uplifting high is perfect for an afternoon of tidying up your nooks and crannies. Pack a bowl and prepare to enter into a clean, serene oasis. Catatonic. Also known as the CBD Queen, Catatonic is a hybrid from Spain's resin seeds. One of the OG high CBD strains, Catatonic has become extremely popular for its reportedly relaxing and euphoric effects. For those who don't want to feel intensely high or may experience anxiety surrounding certain tasks, this is the perfect strain to chill out and still get shit done. Mac number 1. If you're a chronic procrastinator like myself, you need a strain like Mac number 1 to get you going. Short for Miracle Alien Cookies. Woo-wee. This strain is a combination of alien cookies with Colombian and Starfire hybrid, first bred by Oregon-based Capulator. Oregon?
We just smoked
Oregon?
that.
Oregon.
Oregon.
Did I say it right?
Yes.
Oregon. No, I think I said Oregon. Oregon-based. Oregon.
We just smoked that alien cookies too.
Wacky. Its heavy-hitting cerebral high is definitely not for the faint-hearted, but a few puffs can make an organizational challenge into a piece of cake. That's a big statement. Tangy, a cross between a select cut of Crockett's Farm Tangerine Dream and DNA Genetics Select Male Skunk. Tangine plants produce unmistakably orange-tinted citrusy nugs. As delicious as it's reported to be effective, this fruity hybrid will potentially leave you feeling productive, clear-headed, and happy. Pack a fat bowl and get ready to complete a project with 0 interruptions. Dang, I need some samples. I want to try that Tangy. That's it, people. That is 6 strains that will get you going.
Declutter.
So I think I want to try Tangy.
We've had that before.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've smoked Tangy with you before. Maybe you don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Seth Rogen and Snoop Dogg were on Howard Stern's show, and Howard Stern's one of his producers wanted to smoke weed for the first time, so he asked for the advice of, 2 fucking phenomenal people in cannabis, and Snoop Dogg said, if you're a newbie, somebody smoking for the first time or, just starting out, Snoop Dogg said, I'd say a half a smoke, like a half a puff, like not even like a full rip of a joint or however you're doing, like a half. And Seth Rogen, I'd start with 1 rip.
Wow. They even as much as they smoke?
Yeah, but for like somebody just starting, like if this is your first time smoking.
Oh, that's what they're suggesting.
Or you're just starting out.
I agree.
Yeah. So that was good advice, not like saying friggin' smoke the
whole joint.
Yeah. So that was good for them, giving advice for newbie smokers or new people just starting out smoking. Cannabis is, as you can see, I smoked my homegrown and it put me on my ass for a minute. And I took 3-4 hits.
It's just, I always hold to the fact that you do. They say we have cannabinoid receptors.
Yep.
Cannabis has cannabinoids, and you have to wake up your cannabinoid system. So the first time you get high is not like a genuine experience, and it's like after, repeatedly doing it in a short enough amount of time, like over like a month, you smoke like once a week, and then you smoke twice a week, and then you smoke 3 times a week, and you get to understand what's happening and what you're feeling. If you don't take the time just to like try doing it that way, you'll just learn to appreciate it in such a different way, because I don't know, it's just amazing.
Right. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Start low and go slow.
Yeah.
He even said it to professional smokers of cannabis. Master P. He is a producer, hip hop artist. Just got his hands in everything. Guy's just done his sets May 20th as the Cannabis Freedom Day to protest pot prohibition. We all know April 20th, 420. I mean, that's the stoner burner pothead holiday. But Master P, entrepreneur, like I said, hip hop artist, rapper, producer, is pushing for May 20th or 520 to become the new cannabis holiday. But unlike the global 420 party, 520 isn't just a celebration. It's also a march to protest cannabis prohibition and the prison state while raising awareness for social justice activism. Master P, whose legal name is Percy Miller, partnered with former cannabis convict Fate Winslow to roll out the 520 Cannabis Freedom Day campaign. However, the 520 movement picked up a new urgency after Winslow's death. After his death, so Winslow was prisoned from 2008. We've read about him on the show for having a $20 bag of weed on him. He just got out in December, and he got killed the other day. Master P told all hip hop, "I want to bring awareness, helping prisoners when they get out. There's so many of us locked down from cannabis when it's legal in 34 states. Rather than simply decry the injustice of Winslow's insane life sentence for holding a baggie of bud, Master P wants 520 to celebrate Winslow's life too. This is what I'm trying to do," he said. Winslow and his companion Tammy Harris were shot and killed at Harris's home in Shreveport, Louisiana on May 4th. The murder investigation is still ongoing. Winslow had been a free man for only 5 months before his death. We have to make sure that this injustice doesn't happen to more people. We need to increase awareness, help educate our culture, and help prepare the imprisoned for freedom, Master P stated in a press release. Anyone who is incarcerated for a small amount of cannabis and is fighting this injustice still, we want to help them gain their freedom back. Cannabis remains outlawed in the U.S. at the federal level, even though 34 states now have legalized either medical or recreational cannabis. The American legal cannabis market is currently worth around $16 billion, he said. While according to the U.S. Bureau of Justice stats, roughly 31,000 Americans were serving prison sentences for cannabis offenses in 2019. The number is down from 42,000 in 2004, but there's still work to be done, he said. Social justice initiatives have gained momentum over the past few years as more U.S. states roll out recreational medical cannabis legalization. Cannabis social justice programs include early prison release for convicts, sealing or clearing criminal records so former convicts can lead normal lives, and creating small business loans for those impacted by the war on drugs. But why 520? Master P provided a couple of reasons. First, 520 is slang for exotic weed, and Master P wants to serve 520 on May 20th for lighting up a rare novel cannabis strains. Second, fellow rap legend Busta Rhymes was born on May 20th. Regardless of whether Master P's effort leads to a new weed holiday, we commend him for his hard and important work. Here's to the next wave of cannabis legalization focusing on social justice rather than necessary regulations and tax schemes. And that was on, what website was this? Oh, Mary Jane. And that's actually owned by Snoop Dogg. So that's the show.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
It's time to go have some munchies.
Yeah, munchies.
Snacks.
Yep. Hey, everybody. You got anything else to say, Mrs. Weedman?
No.
No? I'm going to go eat some more of that granola, though.
Oh, jeez.
And float on to sleepy sleep time. Hey, everyone around the world. We love you all. Thank you for listening. Make sure you check us out on Weedman420 Chronicles on Instagram, Weedman420 Pod on Twitter. Say hello to Dot Boy. Weedman420 Chronicles on TikTok. Weedman420 Chronicles on gmail.com. Send me an email.
YouTube?
Oh, yeah, YouTube.
Oh.
Weedman420 Chronicles, but there's a space in between 420 and Chronicles /YouTube.com.
Yeah,
I think that's how it goes.
something like that.
Yeah.
You'll find us.
Thanks for sending us some good comments on the new anime, too. It's kind of fun. I love you guys all out there around the world. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, pass.